This is the real benefit is like taking what would take 8 years and condensing it into 8 weeks. I'm going to go there, but not because Facebook groups is the answer for everybody, because that's where my fucking market is. What happens is usually after about 5 or 10, when you know what they're going to say and you know what they're object to, then you can make what I call one video to rule them all. Welcome back, all my fine folks. Good to see you guys again. Still feeling a little sick over here in the Fihn Braunstein, the Fihn B household, but we're getting better and mostly recovered. Quick little announcement before we get rocking and rolling. I've been seriously working really fucking hard to make our mastermind the coolest shit ever in terms of really is making everything in growing this agency business paint by numbers, getting the clients, honing in on the buyers, becoming the expert authority in your industry, closing without sales calls, hiring people, teams, delivery, SOPs, so that all of that can be done in just under a few minutes. It doesn't mean there isn't work. I don't want to bullshit you guys and say it's not work, but doing it in such a way where it'll save you, like, for me, I think this is the real benefit is like taking what would take 8 years and condensing it into 8 weeks is having that kind of exponential growth. So if you guys haven't already checked out the mastermind, even if you have, I would suggest you check it out again because I'm going to be updating that video because it is new, it is amazing, and I'm obviously super biased on it, but the new Wolfpack is the coolest thing ever. What's up, my man Cole? So if you guys haven't already seen that, you can go to beyondagencyprofits.com/wolfpack. And even if you guys are never interested in working with me, I would suggest you check it out because it is a Loom video. The Loom videos that we teach, that is one of the videos, right? So you're looking at one of those in action. So if you follow the methodologies and what we're actually doing, you can do that too with your own business. So let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Let's see, we got our man. I hope, dude, I'm probably butchering your name so bad, and I apologize. Conives. He says, are you including the pricing for your services on your website? In what way? All right. Conventional wisdom, by the way, this is what it says. It says, never, ever, ever, in a million years, tell them your price until the very end where they have context to understand your price. And I followed that model for a lot of years, and there are reasons to do it, such as like people can't easily shop you around. But having said that, there is a different set of beliefs I carry now that says, give them the context with which to understand what they're getting. And the easiest way to do that is whenever you present price, tie it to outcomes, and you will not have to hide behind this. So I tell this story because it illustrates this point really badass. But there was a guy on a webinar I watched sell $100,000 consulting services and no phone call. And people asked, how much is it for your consulting service? And he said, $100,000, did not hesitate for a second in naming the price. And he said, it works really well if you're a personal injury lawyer that's spending at least $100,000 per month, because we can usually save you 50% on your media buying, which means you'll save $500,000 over the year if you hire us, because we used to work for the TV stations and we know how they buy. But when they contextualize it with, I'm going to save you $500,000, suddenly like $100,000 in spend doesn't sound like a lot. And so I always say, like, if somebody says there's a car for sale, it's not, and they tell you it's $5,000, it's not a deal, it's not a ripoff. It depends on the kind of car you're going to get. It has to be contextualized with the value you're getting, right? Like if you say it's a 1972 Hyundai, that's a ripoff. But if you say like, hey, my wife just cheated on me, I'm selling her 911 Turbo, it's brand new, the first person to get here with $5,000 is getting this car, fuck her, right? Then suddenly that's a steal and you need to run out and spend $5,000 as fast as you possibly can. So whenever you present price, if you contextualize it with the value that they're going to get, you'll find it's so much easier to present price. It's not just saying the car is $5,000, it's saying the car is $5,000 and for that you'll get a brand new 911 Turbo. If you can put those two things together, you can create the proper context to say price whenever you want and do it out of sequence, which is my favorite way of doing it. So I hope that's helpful, my man. But you can do it both ways. You can save it till the very end, or you can say like, this is the price and this is what you'll get for it. Jennifer, who by the way happens to live here in La Paz, she is a local here in Mexico, says if I have a list of leads, emails via a cookie from my website, am I able to specifically target those people's Facebook or Google accounts? I'll send you a link because there is a software I know of that is in beta that can do that. I don't know how well it works, but having said that, what I wanted to say is you could probably first of all upload this as a Facebook custom audience and run retargeting ads to that. But I'm going to tell you guys a little secret that we do at our agency, which is install Facebook tracking code on your website and a Google tracking code on your website long before you are ready to run ads. Now, why? Because I think retargeting are the best and cheapest ads you can possibly run, because those are people who are interested with your specific business and have engaged with you. And in order to run them, you need a specific size audience. So some of you guys, by the way, are on my retargeting sequences because you visited the Beyond Agency Profits website, and you'll see I stalk you like real fucking good. Like I don't know if anybody has as big a retargeting sequence as we do. If you have some sort of ad block, you won't see them. But otherwise, you'll find that you see our shit everywhere. And that is by design, by the way, because we run really big targeting ads. But it starts with, I put the code on the website long before I actually plan to run the ad. So I would suggest doing the same, because you'll make your life a lot easier, because you can follow up with the people who are interested in you often for pennies. And it's the best ads you'll ever run and worth it. Matt Garris, a man, our Aussie man, says, hey guys, does anyone know the general conversion rate from free trial to paid customer? Our service is $1,500 USD for Google image ads to get roofers a massive amount of roof replacement inquiries. So Matt, I'm going to tell you something that nobody else tells you, by the way, which is it depends who you get in free trial. So I'm gonna illustrate two stories that kind of point out the difference in these, okay? So, Justin Brooks is a friend of ours here at Beyond Agency Profits, and he's doing a lot of amazing stuff with AI. A lot of you guys know him already. One of the things is when he built his agency from nothing, one of his first moves is he reached out to Russell Brunson, the ClickFunnels guy, and said, hey, Russell, I have this Facebook ads idea for you. Can I just run it and show you it works? You don't have to pay me anything. I just want to run it because you're Russell Brunson. And he did, and that ad actually worked. They didn't make a gazillion dollars, but it paid for itself and produced revenue. And what ended up happening is that could be considered a free trial. Is Russell eventually invited into his mastermind and referred him like business for years and years and years and years and stuff like that. And that's an example of doing a free trial the right way. Now, another way I've done the free trial is I actually did this with roofers specifically, and this is the way you don't want to do it. And I remember begging any roofer in the beginning, like, just try our shit for a while and we'll show you it works. I ended up with a roofer named Eddie the Roofer, who was like a total like crazy ass fucking alcoholic redneck. And I always joke, but it's true. Some of you guys will have clients like this. I couldn't give Eddie money if I tried. Like, there was no scenario under which it was going to work. And so the difference between those is, in the second scenario, your target is really anyone. And anyone is usually a bad target because there's more bad businesses out there that you don't want to be partnered with as clients. So the scenario one is you're targeting what I would call a shoe store, which is an influencer in the industry, somebody who is a mover and shaker who's connected to that space already and has an immense amount of influence, right? So if you're offering free trials to those people, like, you're going to win. So I've done this recently. I identified a couple of the big top law firms that I want as clients. I shouldn't say like recently. We set this up a couple of months ago, and I picked those people up as free trials, and then actually they led to paid trials. And I get to use them as case studies. I get to say, like, the biggest and best law firms in the fucking world use us, right? That's a way better case study than like Frankie Fihn says this is a cool idea because it's a name they would recognize. So if you're going to do paid trial or free trials, just make sure you choose people very, very carefully, that they have the ability. You want to create what's known as asymmetric risk. Asymmetric risk is if you're wrong, you want to be wrong a little bit. And if you're right, you want to be right a lot of it. So like if you think about Russell Brunson, if he was wrong, he probably ran ads for a couple of days, they didn't work, and maybe lost a little bit of his money, and Russell would never hire him. But if he was right, the upside was massive. When I pick a law firm, if I'm wrong, like, okay, I ran a little bit of ads and they didn't work. But if I'm right, I get to use them over and over as a case study to like seduce, if you will, other clients. So you got to be strategic with those free trials if you want them to work. I know conventional wisdom says free trials are a bad idea, but do you think Justin Brooke regrets doing it for Russell Brunson? So when you think free trials, instead of trying to use it to get anybody to just try and work with you, it's more about like doing those strategically and choosing the partners you're going to give them to. Enrico says, I am implementing Frankie Fihn's no sales call process and looking for advice on outreach. I found plenty of shoe buyers and I got their LinkedIn and email. What outreach strategy do you recommend? I read some people do combined approach of sending LinkedIn and email basically at the same time. Most LinkedIn profiles of my shoe buyers seem not very active though. Many don't even have 500 connections and no recent activity. But I assume they will get an email notification for my connection request and they see their name. Depends a little bit on their LinkedIn settings, Enrico. But here's the deal with outreach, okay? I always say I want you guys to think about principles, because what happens is most people find a tactic that works and then beat it to death and it stops working. But if you understand the strategy behind the tactic, you'll be in better shape. And if you understand the principles behind the strategy, you'll be able to create your own strategies and tactics at will. And that's where I want you guys to be. So one of those principles that I want you to take out of it is it's not about like do LinkedIn and email at the same time. It's that omnipresent outreach works better than single channel. Why is this? I'll tell you, because most of the spammers in the world have one way to reach you, which is your email, right? Like they send you those Viagra offers or enlarge your penis. I know you guys are getting those. They're telling you, hey, we can make you at least this big if you just take our penis pills. But they only have one way to reach you, email. If you think about the people you do want to contact you, the people that you have real relationships with, they sometimes have your email, they have you on Facebook, they have your Instagram, they got your Telegram, they got your WhatsApp. Like they can reach you, at least for me. Like people that I want to reach me have dozens of ways to reach me, and they often use all of those ways, right? So omnipresent outreach creates relationships faster, because that's like people you want to contact you have different ways. I noticed this, by the way, before somebody joins the mastermind, I'll often see YouTube comments for them. I'll get an email from them. I'll get a Facebook message, and they'll come and ask me about something. I'm not saying it's always like that, but that's an example of like omnipresent. So having said that, if you identify strategic shoe buyers and you want to reach them over multiple channels, that is a smart way to do it. Second piece of that, okay, is not every market is in the same fucking place. Okay, so don't get hung up on that email and LinkedIn. And the best advice I could give to you is go where your market is already. Okay, that's the principle. Go where your market is already. So this is different, right? If I'm trying to reach an e-commerce store, they hang out in a lot of Facebook ads groups and Shopify groups and places like that. So I'm going to go there, but not because Facebook groups is the answer for everybody, because that's where my fucking market is. When I first started with lawyers, I went to LinkedIn, and it's because I found out lawyers network with other lawyers on LinkedIn, and so they were actually pretty fucking active on LinkedIn. But it doesn't mean that LinkedIn is the right place for everybody. We just started the water damage restoration. I sent out a bunch of direct mail. Why? Because a lot of these guys are work with your hand contractor, exist in the real world, give me a call, man, let's talk kind of guys who don't check their email and aren't like hanging out on Facebook groups and super active in those places. So I go where they are already. All right. So I want you guys to think about that. As if you think about those two things, is you've identified like people that are known buyers. You're going after them omnipresent, and you're going where they are already to have conversations with them. Those are the principles I want you to take, because then you can come up with your own systems. Because like, for example, like I saw a guy using Go High Level to send text messages. That's really fucking clever, but that won't work with every market. Like a lot of internet marketers, you can't find their goddamn phone number, but that's different than if you're trying to reach a dentist. A dentist like puts the phone number proudly on his website because he wants you to call, right? So it depends who you're trying to reach, but I want you to think about the principles. Narrow down to the buyers, omnipresent messaging, and of course, I forgot the last place because my mind just blanked. It's a function of being tired with kids, for real. My mind just blanks sometimes. But that was a quality rant. When I remember what the third one is, yeah, go where they are already. Sorry, that sounds obvious, but most people don't do that because they'll see somebody else having big success with email and they think, well, I need to do email, and it depends on your market, right? If they don't use email, you're not going to have the same kind of success. Chris says, what are people's thoughts on Loom versus having a video on a simple branded page? I've been running too many call funnels, I think, because my initial reaction is to host the video on a page I control. I'm getting messages, so it's not like I need to change it. Currently, Facebook lead form, text, email with Loom link, probably just me overthinking things. Chris, it depends where you are in the journey. So this is actually not... I'm not saying that you're not overthinking it because we're all guilty of that. Actually, I usually find our type of person, the person that resonates with me and the stuff I put out there is usually like a really fucking smart person. Like I don't really get a lot of dumb people in my world. Not saying it never happens, but you guys are by and large like way above average intelligence, and for that reason, like we're prone to overthinking. But it depends where you're at in the journey. So I'll tell you how we do Loom videos. If I'm in a new market and it's a new offer, or I should say, and I don't know how it's going to perform, then the best thing I can get is feedback. And so I'm not trying to bypass the conversation. The opposite, I'm trying to lean into it. I still do these conversations over text, and I have as many of them, and I try and get as much of them talking as possible to understand who they are and what they're going through. And so usually after like 5 or 10 times of sending out manual videos, if you do a little bit of like asking intelligent questions, what you'll find is they say the same shit over and over. If you talk to 10 lawyers, you'll hear the same shit. If you talk to 10 dentists, you'll hear the same shit. If you talk to 10 e-commerce store owners that sell fashion, you're going to hear the same shit over and over and over. And so the goal is to take those words and phrases and put those into your video. What happens is, usually after about 5 or 10, when you know what they're going to say and you know what they're object to, then you can make what I call one video to rule them all. And what I like to do is have one video to send people to over and over. Our man, John Marenko, what's up, brother? Good seeing you. So that's our process for handling Loom videos. If you've got it where you're not quite sure and you don't have feedback from your market and you don't know what they say, then lean into those conversations and do it personalized, do it one-to-one. But once you know what those conversations are and you got their phrases, like just put it in a video. Like when we actually bring people into the Wolfpack now, you'll notice there's a standalone video. I don't have conversations with anybody. They watch the video and decide for themselves whether or not they want to join, but that's only because I've had like hundreds of conversations about it up until that point. So like, what you want to do is lean into the conversations in the beginning and then extract the gold from those conversations, put it into your marketing pieces. And this is, by the way, this is the best way to improve anything you're trying to sell is get feedback from your market, because they almost always use simpler language than what we do. And they say it in ways that are like so damn obvious. Like I'll give you an example of this is 99% of people selling to dentists say shit like, we can get you to #1 in Google, we can get you more patients, we can get you teeth whitenings and blah, 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 we can get you more leads and all those kind of things. If you talk to a dentist, they'll tell you one of their biggest pain points is they'll say stuff like, the chair is empty. And what they mean by that is they have a hygienist chair and they are paying a dental hygienist usually like 80, 90 or $100,000 a year, or at least like 60 or 70 on the low end, depending on where they're at geographically. And they're paying that person to earn them money because they work on people's mouths and teeth, as long as a human being is sitting in that chair. And what happens is when a human being is not sitting in that chair, they're not producing revenue. On the contrary, they're costing them money. And so what most people do is shout things that are not what a dentist experience is. I'll get you more leads, I'll get you more sales, we'll fix your website, we'll rank you #1. And in reality, if you just tell them like, hey, in your Loom video, Does this look like you? Is you got a hygienist and at least some of the time the chair is empty, right? So we want to take that gold and put it back into the process, and you'll find nothing converts better than parroting. Like literally a parrot, like a parrot, like rah, 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 like get out of here, get out of here. Like it just feeds back whatever it was told. That's how you want to think about copywriting, is like, how can I parrot what my market said back to me? It'll be the best shit you ever write, and it's the easiest stuff as well. Florian says, does anybody have a source for SOPs for web design and digital marketing? I found great ones for SEO and content, but nothing good for web design and marketing. Ideally would be a setup in ClickUp. I'm looking to standardize and systematize our agency, and this is the first step. I mentioned to Florian, Trent Dismid, I'll put a link to him below for you guys. I believe he has SOPs for these. But having said that, for those of you guys who don't know what an SOP, it stands for Standard Operating Procedure, so I'll back this up. Anything you do in your agency that has more than 3 steps and that you do more than 3 times needs a documented process. If you want to create repeatability out of your service, meaning it can be done again and again with success at scale, what you need to do is have processes. And this is actually one of the biggest secrets of hiring, because a lot of times people bring in a hiring person and they expect them just to know what the fuck to do and hope they can solve a problem in the business. I found that whenever you have processes and procedures, meaning somebody can follow step by step, you almost get good employees like 60-70% of the time, because they actually know what to do. They know what's expected of them. They have instructions. It's clear. The onboarding thing is so much easier. So you guys want to have like SOPs for if you want to build scale in your agency. This is the secret, by the way. This is how I can go to the beach with my kids and hang out and be totally 100% present at the beach and not be worried about client shit, because my SOPs and my team are getting stuff done, right? So that's where you guys want to get to with your stuff. Fat says, has anyone attempted to delegate their tasks to an external individual or agency with the expectation that they would complete the work, but were ultimately dissatisfied with the results? Fats, no, never happened to anybody here, ever. Honestly, you're not even fucking trying if you haven't been disappointed in somebody, okay? That you've been doing this. I'll give you an example of one of the ones for me. 2016 or so, we were really stuck on Facebook ads. Like, we had started to get them to work. They were kind of working, they were kind of producing, but whenever we would try and scale, they would fucking fall apart. And so I wanted to bring in a guy who could help me scale Facebook ads, okay? And I'd been following a few guys for a while, and I forget the guy's name. I want to say his name was Marco, but I could be mistaken. And he had put out some really quality like case study posts and stuff like that. I reached out to him and I gave him, I want to say like $3,000 or $4,000, and I sent it with PayPal. And he asked me specifically, can you click on the gift option, because it'll be lower fees for both of us. So I sent it as a gift. I never heard from Marco ever again. I think his name was Marco. I'm not 100%. Never heard from ever again. I know another Facebook ads guy in the area, and we had worked together as well. Really smart guy named Philip. And I reached out to Philip and I said, hey, what do you know about this other guy? And he said, there is a high probability that your Facebook ads money is up his nose. Meaning he like literally turned it into cocaine and snorted it, right? So like that was what happened with my Facebook ads money. And because I sent it as a gift or whatever like that option was on PayPal, there was no chance of like getting it back and appealing or whatever. Like it was gone forever. So like that's the most extreme example of being disappointed. Do you think I gave up, or do you think it makes sense to give up after being disappointed? Do you think that means I should never try and hire somebody again? That's the real question, because are you going to be disappointed with somebody's results or service like over and over and over and over? It's going to happen. But if you roll the dice 10 times, and even if you're wrong 9 times, that one can pay for like gazillions of failures. So we're actually, I was with our man, Josh Plock and I, we were going over some potential businesses to buy, and one of the things that we discovered is like he has what's called asymmetric risk. So this is his business model: is he buys a business that is cash flowing now, but the owner's just burnt out and ready to sell. And he likes to buy service businesses where it's not easy to take the owner out because there's not a lot of buyers. And so what that means is he can owner finance. So say like there's $1 million a year plumbing business. You can often buy like $1 million a year plumbing business with like $50,000 out of pocket. So he'll buy the business and then turn it into a $2 million per year business and build in systems and processes. And what happens is, when you're able to double the business and suddenly it has systems and processes, it's actually fucking worth something, right? Because anybody can walk in and own that. And so what happens is businesses are usually paid a multiple. So now instead of being a $1 million business, that business can be worth $6 million, right? Because somebody will pay like 3 years up to like typically on a high-end service business, and now it's doing $2 million a year. And so he can sell that business for $6 million, and it only cost him $50,000 to buy it. Now, if you think about the math of that from an investor perspective, how many times can he buy a business and be wrong and still crush it, right? So like if you buy 10 businesses, which would in his case be $500,000, and you're wrong 9 of the 10 times, you're still going to come out 12-1 on your money. Right, so this is how you want to think about this kind of like whole journey is when you're hiring people is like there's always going to be a risk that people will disappoint you and fuck off and not do what they said they're going to do. But usually if you get it right, the value will pay for itself 10 times over. So has anybody ever disappointed you? Of course. Of course, you're going to be dissatisfied with results. But it's more reason to actually lean into it because there's inherently asymmetric risk. Meaning if you do hire the right person, often they can 10, 20x your business in ways that the wrong people can't. Josh says, how did you start learning your industry to become the expert? This is an interesting thing because I think there's both an intention and a luck factor involved in it. Most people don't realize being an industry expert can be reverse engineered like pretty fucking easily. Okay, so I'll tell you thing number one you can do that nobody thinks to do is just, I call it appointing yourself the mayor of Cool Town. And the hardest reason to do it is between your ears because you'll not feel like the mayor of Cool Town. So like in 2016 when we first at the very beginning started the idea that we were going to work with attorneys, Frankie Fihn knew 0 attorneys. I didn't know any in my personal life. No friends had gone to school for it. I literally knew 0 attorneys. So step one is I went to LinkedIn, and I went there and I changed my profile to say attorney marketing expert. And now it takes a little bit of balls to do that when I don't know any attorneys. I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they're dealing with. So like step one I say is like the hardest part about becoming an industry expert is just appointing yourself mayor of Cool Town. And I'll tell you, a lot of people don't have the cojones to do this. And I see people getting hung up in like, I got to get certifications. I got to get trainings. Like life coaches are never certified enough that they're ready just to work with real fucking people. Right? So that's step one, is just deciding you're going to be an industry expert. It's actually in many ways the most important step. The second thing is a lot of people don't realize is that you can connect right away with the top experts in the industry. So one of the things that I did in the legal space is I Googled who are the top lawyers in the world, and they gave me a list. And the number one personal injury law firm in the world is a firm in the southeastern United States. Their home base is in Orlando, but they're all over. They're named Morgan & Morgan. If you're in Orlando ever, just like try and not see Morgan & Morgan. It can't be done. They're like on every billboard, every radio, every TV. They're like, they have bus stop ads and they're on every taxi cab. Like you cannot fucking miss Morgan & Morgan. I called their front desk. Now bear in mind, I know 0 lawyers, I have 0 following, and they have 0 reasons to say yes. And I called and I said, hey, I love what you guys are doing over at Morgan & Morgan. I would love to interview John. John is the name of the owner. And just share some of the cool stuff you guys have been up to. Would you be interested in doing that? And the lady said to me, we can do Wednesday, July 27th at this date or this date. And I ended up getting rescheduled a few times, but eventually I did an interview with John Morgan, and it was like, it had opened up doors, because what I found is like if you say like in an industry, I say, hey, I'm Frankie Fihn and these are the 3 best ways to get clients, nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. But if I say, hey, I'm Frankie Fihn and I was just talking with John Morgan, the #1 personal injury law firm in the world, they do over $500 million annually, have over 25 locations, and this is what he told me are the top 3 ways to get clients. Like suddenly people pay attention, right? So the thing about industry expertise is that it can be reverse engineered intentionally. And it's really just a function of media. Magazines, speaking on stage, written stuff, podcasts, like endorsements from other influencers. And so the easiest way that expertise can be created in your industry is just find out who the experts are and intentionally connect with those people. And it works best if you actually add value to their world rather than looking at it as like how can I get them to do something for me, is to think about like how can I do something for them, right? So when I reach out with people, often step 1 is an interview, but I'm saying like I want to sell and promote your stuff. Right? Like that opens the door, and it's extra smart if there's a chess game going on where there's a move 2 and a move 3 and it doesn't just end at the interview. The interview is the door opener, not the final step in the journey. But if you do that, like for real, you guys can become industry experts really fast. In fact, just before this, for those of you guys who are following along in our 90-day case study, I just got a message from Restoration and Remediation magazine that I'm going to be a published author for them, which is kind of amazing. And like I'm going to be an expert now in the restoration industry, even though I wasn't 2 weeks ago, right? So I don't think you guys need to think about this as this long, difficult thing. Just think about who the players are. Give yourself fucking permission to be the mayor of Cooltown. I'm the fucking expert because I say so, right? Like if you can do that, if you can just have the balls to be okay with that and understand that we all have this imposter syndrome. And actually, by the way, imposter syndrome doesn't get bigger or doesn't get smaller the more you do this. For those of you guys who don't know, imposter syndrome is when you think like, who am I? Why would anybody listen to me? I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. And those kind of thoughts. And what happens is, as you help like thousands of people, it only gets bigger because you look at someone else. Like if I'm doing motivational speaking, like and Tony Robbins exists, I'm always going to compare myself to Tony and feel inadequate and say, well, who am I? Why would anybody listen? Why would these people follow me? If you can just ignore those thoughts and like give yourself permission to be the mayor of Cooltown, there's no limits to what you can do by just like appointing yourself as like the person in your industry. So Jonathan says, what are the typical profit margins for an agency? You could be making 7 figures in revenue, but if your net margin is 5%, then is it really worth it? Oh my God, Jonathan, this is such a good question. I'll tell you, there are 3 numbers that are really fucking important to pay attention to in your agency. Number 1 number is retention, how long people actually stay with you. Number 2 number is your margins, meaning how much do you actually keep in the business. And number 3 is your sales numbers. And I'll tell you the one people pay the most attention to, and it gets the most traction in groups. And I actually don't like doing it. I don't like posting screenshots of money because I feel like it brings a lot of the wrong people. But number 3 gets more attention than anything else I've ever seen, which is just post screenshots that you made a sale. But I'll tell you, pros retain people, and you do not post a screenshot of like payment 17 you got from a client or payment 47, they've been with you almost 5 years. That's not a screenshot worthy thing in a group, and people get really hung up. But I'll tell you, just from having done this, there are a shit ton of agencies that get clients because they're good at selling, and they'll say whatever needs to be done to sell people. And 3 months later, those clients drop off and are pissed off at them and feel ripped off and often beg and demand for refunds. They don't always get them, but they ask for them nonetheless. And that is not agency success in my books, okay? I know, like, there's tons and tons of people I know out there. I call them the booked appointment bros, teaching this model, like, just get booked appointments, bro, and you'll do everything. But if you pay attention to the other 2 numbers, retention and profitability, you'll have a very different outlook at what this agency business actually is. I'm not saying you shouldn't pay attention to sales. It's an important number, but it's just not the number that defines your agency as the whole entire metric. So having said that, this is my rant on profitability, is there are different levels to the agency game. and it depends on what level you're at. When you're at level 1, meaning you're a fucking one-person agency, you are everything. You're the janitor, you're the CEO, you're the salesperson, you're the delivery, you're the fulfillment, you're the account manager. Your margins should be like close to 100%, like 80, 90%. You might hire somebody off of Fiverr or Freelancer or whatever to help you out with shit, but you should be, by and large, keeping most of the money you make at level 1. And by the way, this is a secret tip, is you can afford to spend 100% of the money you would make off of a client for month 1 to go get them. So if you got like $1,000 a month service, you can spend $1,000 on ads, easy, to go get that client. And what will happen is you won't make any money in month 1, but on month 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like it's all profit. It's all back end profit. If you can have a little bit of delayed gratification, you can like totally crush it. Stage 2 is when you start hiring a team. And the funny thing about a team is they expect to be paid rain or shine. In my experience, my team don't work for free. Maybe yours does. And for that reason, employees start getting paid first. So don't be surprised when your profitability goes from anywhere from like 80%, depending on your deliverability and your margins, to as low as like 40, 50%, because the team is getting more of the money. But the reason you do that is very simple, is because it can go further. Is like, yeah, you make more money when it's by yourself, but you can actually build a bigger, more successful, more stable agency, right? Like if you got 3 clients and you're keeping 100%, that's good. But you got a better business if you got 30 clients and a team that manages and runs it. Yeah, your margins will be lower than they were at 3, but you'll be making more money overall. And if one client leaves, it's not the fucking end of the world either, right? So that's level 2 when you got a small team. Level 3 is when you become the manager. And when you're a manager, it means that you're like, you got a whole team below you. You no longer do any of the day-to-day. You're just supporting people in that role. And usually when you get to that level 3, it's normal to have like 20 to 50% margins. And then, by the way, this goes all the way up to, I have friends who have $40 million agencies. That is not a typo, as in 40 with then a bunch of zeros, like 40, meaning they're making over like $3.5–4 million every single month in revenue, and they shoot for about 10% margin, right? And that's because they have such a big, successful machine, and they're constantly reinvesting into their clients. So it depends where you're at in the journey. So like profit margin is not a one-size-fits-all answer. If you're just starting out and it's just you, like you should be keeping all the money. And if you're not, like you should be asking some questions, why not? But if you got like, in this case, like a 400 client agency and you got a team of almost 100 people, like don't be surprised when your margins are 10%. But they do that as a trade-off because they're serving more clients and doing it at a higher level. So it depends on your goal. I'll tell you what I like to do. I like to be high level 2, low level 3. That's my sweet spot for building an agency, is because you can build a team, you can build a system, you can build a management structure that's not 100% you removed, but it's like 90–95% you removed, and you make good money and you have good margins and you don't have to do a whole lot. And it's kind of lazy, but it's also, I find, the best way to do it for your clients if you're like me, where you don't have world domination goals. You're not trying to do this. I'm not trying to get 1,000 clients. Like I have no interest in doing that. I just, like for me, this is just about like, I want my clients to have a good life. I want to have a good life for me and my family. I want to be free and I want to have some impact. But for the most part, like I'm not trying to be the biggest anything. I'm just trying to do what like works with our lifestyle. And then by and large, we reinvest most of that money anyway, so that our money's working for us when we're not, which I think is the best way to do it. If you guys are at that level, then I think that's the sweet spot to be. So those are the 3 numbers that you want to pay attention to in your agency. How long are you keeping people? Profitability. Profitability, by the way, is related to metric number 1. Because if you don't keep clients, you won't have profitability. The end, right? And then, of course, sales. But this is the one everybody pays attention to. And I'm not saying it's not important. It is. But it's not the whole fucking picture. And if you get hung up in just the sales number, like I say it, like all the booked appointment bros, they always post sales. Sales. And like those do matter. But like if you don't fucking keep those people, you're not doing anything. Like most of those people, after 3 months, have 0 business and have to start over and rebuild and rebuild and rebuild. And a lot of people don't realize this. If you compare 2 agencies, okay? Agency number 1 is mediocre at sales, and they sign 1 client, and that client stays for 2 years, okay? Agency 2, what I call the booked appointment bros, is way better at sales. So they sign 8 clients, count them 8. And what ends up happening is the average client leaves after 3 months and is pissed off. At the end of 2 years, what will happen is one client or one agency will have signed 8 clients. They'll have done 8 times as many sales calls. They'll have done 8 times as much prospecting. They'll have done 8 times as much like onboarding. And at the end of 2 years, they will both have made the same amount of money. Like, really wrap your head around that. Is the person with one client but kept him will have gotten 24 Stripe payments. The person who got 8 clients and kept him 3 months will have gotten 24 Stripe payments. But there's a hidden metric in all that called energy. And if you look at return on energy, the agency that's keeping people, usually after like 6 months, it's like coasting with clients. It's actually pretty easy. My clients who've been with me the longest, by and large, like, leave me the fuck alone. It's actually hard to even have a conversation with them. Like, a lot of the busy lawyers, they're just doing their own thing. Like, they ask me once in a while, is it still working? And I say, yep. And I send them the numbers, and they're like, all right, that's it. Like, there's not a lot to talk about. The clients who are new and don't trust you need onboarding, need hand-holding, need convincing kind of things. So, like, the amount of energy required to do it the booked appointment bro way is like exponentially off the fucking charts high. And so I want you guys to think about, like, the energy is the hidden metric. That's the key in the lifestyle agency, is like how much leverage you have, meaning like literally how much energy do you have to invest to go make money and to make clients happy and to keep them over the long period. The more you have leverage on that, the better you're going to do long term. So hope that's helpful to you guys. For those of you guys who missed the intro, just a little announcement. I've been like working my nuts off making the Wolf Pack, like, I think really fucking amazing, like super easy. We have some stuff in there that I haven't seen anywhere else, like upsells that you can give to clients, like value adds that you can bring to them that you have zero fulfillment. Like, a lot of this is, hey, let me help you set up this software and tool so that it'll make your life easier in this way, and you set up the software and tool as an affiliate, and so the client gets value because you did a little extra to help them convert more of their leads and sales. And I've had clients, by the way, that I've done this for that let me go, and I still get a paycheck 5 years later because they're still running the software whether they need you or not, right? So this is like one of those hidden secrets, and we've just been making everything paint by numbers. We have automations and swipe files and stuff so that you guys can like actually build leverage into your agency. Meaning, I always say, like, it's a longer sales cycle if you sell people through like email automation, like email follow-up, but it scales better, right? Because if you got to bring in 100 clients and you have a nurture sequence that sells them over 3 months, yeah, it takes longer to sell each individual client, but it scales better. Like, the whole thing is easier. So I want you guys to really think about that. So if you guys are interested in that, send me just a message, and I will send you some details about the Wolfpack. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm really like straight from the hip. I'll tell you whether or not I think it's a good fit. There are some times where I don't think it's a good fit, and I'll just tell you. And if there's something else, one of the benefits is I love always pointing people to the best resource that can help them at the time, whether that's a book, a course, a training, or somebody they can talk to, a group, whatever. Whatever the best thing is, based on whatever it is you're trying to figure out, I will point you at that, so you'll be better off. And then if it is a fit, there's no hard sell or anything like that, but I'll tell you what that would look like if you're interested in that, and then you can make that decision. And if, by the way, because we do all our stuff like text and video close, like, there's no need to hard sell anybody ever. So, like, if it's not a fit for you, I won't be like, God damn it! Like, you know how, like, all these people, like, follow up on you? Like, just follow it up to see if you read my proposal. There's none of that. Nobody's going to chase you or beat you up. And also, if you guys just want to check it out on your own, you can go to beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack. And, you know, it's really about, like I said, the more beach, less laptop, which is, to me, is a function of the fundamentals done really well. Like, pick a niche of people, figure out how to add, like, real value to their lives, and there's methodical ways of doing that. Add that value, scale it with teams, people, and systems, and repeat it over and over and over. And in the meantime, build up your recurring income that doesn't require your constant energy input and maintenance. And what will happen is your income will grow over time, but your energy and effort will not go up with it, which happens for a lot of people, especially in this business. It's easy to do. I say it's one of the easiest businesses to start. It's one of the hardest businesses to scale, because even though like all you need to start is a laptop and you know, the right connection or two, you can be in business. But the flip side of that is you are the business, like talking to the clients and stuff like that. And for that reason, it's a lot harder business to scale than say like, you know, an e-commerce thing that you're drop shipping, where it's just like now instead of 100 orders, we got 1,000. So if you guys are interested in doing that, like bringing some scale, and part of the secret of scale, by the way, is getting you the fuck out of your business. And I'll tell you, like, a lot of times people come to me when they've hit 5, 10, 15, or 20 clients, and then they're just burnt the fuck out because they're doing way too much shit, and they realize they have no energy and they have no leverage, and their machine requires their constant energy and input to get going. And what we're really good is identifying, like, you have a niche, it's here inside of your business, and then let's extrapolate that and build teams and systems and McDonaldize the thing, because Ray Kroc isn't losing sleep over McDonald's pumping out burgers. Like, they happen automatically. And bringing that scale and those systems so that like when you grow, like the whole thing just gets easier for you, that you actually will find you make more money doing less. And I actually, the best stuff I learned from this, I learned from personal injury lawyers. And I remember a lawyer described it. He had been burnt out working, and he was like doing like 60, 70, 80 hour weeks for like years and years on end. And he's just like, I can't do it anymore. And then he built all the teams and systems and processes, and he niched down a little bit further. And he said to me, I was at a meeting with him, and he said to me, I've never seen anything like it. I went away this weekend, and I came back, and my team had signed 8 cases, and we onboard them. Now, for a personal injury lawyer, their clients are cases, not clients like ours. But it's almost the same thing. I realized the way you onboard a legal client, like, and the way you onboard an agency client, they're very similar. Like, yeah, okay, the deliverable is different, but the way you like welcome them in, and the way you bring them on board, and the way you make that simple and easy and make them feel like they're welcome, it has more in common than different. And you know, when you look at these systems and teams and processes, often what works in one industry, it works really well in another. So that's a big part of my secret, is just actually being part of some of the top lawyer masterminds in the world and seeing how they systematize and organize their business. And whatever worked in our business, to be honest, I kind of stole a little bit, but I should say I borrowed. Ethically borrowed. They don't mind, right? Like, it's not like I stole. When I say that, I kid, but in reality, they're happy to share anything that worked that can make somebody else's life. But this is what a real business looks like, is a lot of you guys have gotten really good at selling your stuff, and now transitioning into a business that is sellable. That's the other side of a lifestyle business, is if it runs without you, you have a sellable asset. If I talk to 100 agency owners, 99 of them could never ever sell what they got. I want you guys to be the 1 out of 100 that's like, yeah, I can sell my thing, and it would be valuable even without me, because everything we do is systematized, documented, and organized. And in order to make your life easier in that, part of what we're also adding to the mastermind, and this is still a work in progress, but Frankie Fihn is inputting all my processes and procedures that we use in our agency for onboarding, for putting out content, for getting clients, automations we use, so that like anybody can walk in and put those in your business and use them with your VAs. So we're taking all our stuff. Part of the challenge in doing that for me is over the years I've made all my stuff video, and you can't like, if the password is this in the video, I can't like easily edit that section out. So we've converted it all to documents so that anybody can use them and swipe out their little details. But if you guys are interested in that, check that out. That's all I got to say on that. Thank you guys for sticking with me this whole hour. And that's all I got for you guys, and may the force be with you. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll also like my book on Amazon called Beyond the Agency Box, which you can also find by my name, Frankie Fihn, and it's got a lot of awesome reviews, and it really just goes deeper on a lot of things we're talking about, everything you need to grow and start a lifestyle agency, from the stages you'll go through to getting clients, to how to create winning offers, to high value deliverables, to wowing clients, to building teams, to building systems, and building a boring factory that's like a 7-figure money machine for you. So if you're interested, I put links for you in the video description, as well as it'll be in the pinned top comment below, and make sure to check those out.